Hello, everyone. I'm Shelly Dressel, and tonight I'm going to be channeling the universal light beings. For those of you that don't know me, they are three high vibrational beings. Albayon is from Arcturus, Brysentia is from the Pleiades, and Crystallia is from out in the Omniverse. And she's just pure crystalline love. She's just, you know, undefinable. According to everything that we've always done. I've been channeling them since about 2016, so quite a while now, and they're here to help us with this ascension process. They give us information, and every one of these channels is energy work. There's energy movement, there's energy shifting, there's downloads that are taking place. So that's what's about to happen. So I thank all of you for being here. There are so many of you that reach out to me in between. I do these about every 2 weeks or so. And there's so many people that reach out in between, and I really appreciate it. We've created a community. This is a worldwide community, and I truly appreciate all of you that come in here consistently. And then sometimes I might work with you in private sessions. They are available. I'm not going to reach out and ask you, do you want one, other than a time like this? So my website is crystallinetransformations.com, and you're welcome to go look at that and see what's involved. But anyway, today is a full moon. Was it last night or tonight? I'm not 100% sure. I think it might be tonight. And the energies, like, I do like to follow the Schumann resonance. For those of you, many of you probably also do the same thing. But there's been a big block of energy that came in about 2 or 3 days ago, and now we've been anchoring it. So I think that it's big time. It's a big time. There have been so many changes that are taking place, and so I know many of you wrote your questions in, and Alexandra will bring them up in a little bit. But if you do have other questions, then kind of write them in the chat here. I'm streaming onto YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. So I love it. And you all get together here in the chat. I see all three areas are asking questions. So thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this. Consider following, subscribing, whatever it is in the version that you like, whatever it is that you need to do. So I'm just going to jump in here. I never know for sure which one's going to come through first. I kind of have a feeling tonight, but we shall see. Oh, and by the way, I know I like to look over here and see who all is here. And so I love it, but I can get distracted. So I'm not ignoring anybody. I appreciate all your comments, and I'll go back and look at them later. And again, thank you for being here. Okay. Shoot, here I go. So Ilsa, Rosalie, Maggie from Australia, Janice, Terry, everyone. Cool. I love it. Okay. Greetings. It is I, Crystallia. I come to you at the beginning of this session because the most important thing for all of you to experience right now is the energy. I wanted to talk about the energy. I wanted to talk about ways that you can work with it. And you'll see coming up shortly, Shelly was working on a blog right before this, and she'll be posting it when we get done. But it's really, really important for people to begin to shift your consciousness around everything that's going on. You've all lived your lives. You've had this linear reality that this happened first, then this, and that, that's the line. That's the way that it all is. In the universe, or out in the multiverse, which is where I come from, things are very abstract and things are non-linear. What that means is that if you think about energy or time as kind of folding in on itself, that's what allows people to be in multiple places at the same time. Sometimes, have you ever had that experience where you feel like, oh, I've had this experience before? I think, what do they call it? Deja vu. And I think I've been here. I think I've done this. There's something about this that feels familiar to me. That can be you moving through a time-space reality where you had put like a an exclamation point, so to speak, and said, hey, I want to pay attention to this. Hey, I want this to really stick in my consciousness when it comes up, because this is important. So anytime that you have a feeling like that, pay attention to it. Another way to consider when you're in this abstract thinking is not only that you have multiple different existences that are all going on at the same time, but you yourself, through your soul essence, can be living in many of those existences. Now, when you're looking at things that are playing out on in your reality, what you say is like someone will tap into something and they'll get this information and they may share it, and that's 100% what that person was tapping into, and it's 100% correct for what that was. And then someone else of a different vibration, of a different frequency, that didn't have that just simply has a different perspective, they may look at that same exact situation and say, I saw this that was going on. I saw this that was going on. I saw this that was happening. And it may be different from the other one. And the question, and this is kind of recently about the thing with the plane that crashed in the Potomac. Because Shelly herself was like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. Wait a second, because so strong was what she tapped into. And then everything that was being shown on the everyday reality, everything that was being shown in people's blogs and talked about, it was different than what she had gotten. So her question to herself was, well, wait a second, why is this? And she would go back in and say, okay, let me look at it again, get the same answers. So this is where you have that abstract thinking, and I'm going to try to explain it, and hopefully it helps. Maybe it doesn't help, I'm not sure, but both responses are 100% correct. And what I mean by that is that in a certain vibration or frequency, there were only nefarious ones on that plane. There was no one on the helicopter, and that the accident took place because they were taken down to prevent something worse. In another reality, had there not been so much of the, had there not been so much of the ascension process going on and the high vibrational frequency coming in, that same accident would have happened. However, it would have been done by nefarious means, where nefarious ones intentionally took down that plane with the intention of killing a large number of people, with the intention of bringing the vibration and frequency all the way down, or down to a lower level, so that they can then continue their control and manipulation of humanity. So the reason why I wanted to explain these two realities is that they both are accurate for humanity on the earth plane. When people vibrate at a particular level, you're vibrating at something that has much higher potentials, that can see things in a different reality. And then when you're vibrating at a more limited perspective, then you're tapping into an opportunity that was intended to take place. But that opportunity didn't take place like that because the frequency had risen to a certain degree, and it was what we had explained to you. But because that was a potential in that timeline at a different vibration, people are picking up on that vibration and that timeline and that reality. So I know that this, as I'm saying this, you guys are thinking, that's just ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense at all. But this is where I'm asking you to expand your consciousness, expand your reality, expand your belief system, so that you can have a better understanding of how things are happening from different perspectives all at the same time. The good news is that massive amounts of high vibrational energies are coming into the earth at a very consistent basis. Some of you will call this the waking up of humanity. Some of you will call this the ascension of humanity. Some of you will call this the transition of the earth into the golden age, or there's many, many different phrases that people like to use for this. And the important thing to understand is that the energy is here. The ascension is taking place. Nothing is going to stop it. You're not going to go back and experience that old energy. The residual of it is continuing to play out in that dual reality, but the more that people will focus upon the higher vibrational energy and frequency, then the more that it will integrate into all of humanity, and the more that there will be balance that takes place, and less of that rocky road that you guys are feeling right now. So, what do I want to say about this? There's something else. I had another thing to share. What was it? So consider that rocky road. Consider the way that your energies are seemingly going up 1 minute, down another minute, in this direction, out that direction. Where is your focus? So this is where it becomes more and more important for each of you to really pay attention to where your focus lies. Now, it's so easy when you're on the computer a lot, or when you're doing a lot of research, or when you're doing, maybe your whole work is sitting there working on the computer, so you're connected into the computer. There is a lot of subliminal energy that is coming out from the computer that was programmed into it. Even your television, when you're watching TV and you're watching your shows on TV. Some of you have you ever noticed, because again, this is something that I've noticed through Shelly, that you kind of get into a mode. You're tired, it's rainy, it's cold outside, so you're just going to sit and watch TV for several hours. Well, by the end of that, it's like you're a zombie. And it's like, yes, you might have enjoyed the shows, and yes, you might be thinking about the shows, but big chunks of time pass and you find yourself saying, where'd the whole afternoon go? I still had things I was going to do, but you didn't. So this is something, and people will call it the AI, people will call it what I call it is that it's something that was started way back in your 1950s and 60s, when they began to have television, when they began to have radio, when they were really practicing and learning about subliminal messages that were given to people. This is when they started doing this, and it's just continued on through all these many, many years. And this is why, if you find yourself like, oh, gee, that's really depressing, and then the next story that comes up, oh, that one's just as bad. So you're then tapping into that frequency of the negativity and the problems that are going on and things that are happening that you don't really know, and you go down that rabbit hole. So constantly be aware of what's being said, be aware of how other people are interpreting things, but keep your focus at the high vibrational energies. That's my biggest message of today, is to keep your focus when all of these different levels and frequencies and potentials are out there and running around. Stay in the vibration and the energy of that which is of a higher frequency, that which makes you feel better. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that everything has to always be, love and joy and happy and highlight. Of course, to me it is, but I understand how in reality of humanity, you've got problems that come up and you have to deal with them. You've got schedules to keep. You've got to stay with that. You've got commitments that you have to do, and it can sometimes feel overwhelming to you. So once again, going back to where your focus is, be it conscious or unconscious, if it's a lot of that low negativity, then before you know it, your schedule is overwhelming. Your commitments are just a pain in the you-know-what. Your reality is reflecting that. So keep your focus, keep your vibration, keep your energy at a higher, lighter frequency. Perhaps you can be one of the ones that puts out there more positive things. Perhaps you can be one of the ones that shares with your friends, hey, did you see this super happy thing that goes on? And I know that sometimes people will say, like, movies that have a really happy meaning to them, or, they're like, oh, well, that's just a bunch of fluff. It doesn't make you think. Well, sometimes you need that fluff, no matter what the focus of the movie may be, or what the focus of the video on the YouTube may be. But give yourself permission to be in the fluff from time to time, if not all the time. But no, I take that back. make sure that you have enough of that so that your vibration stays high, but still be aware of everything that's going on around you. Okay, now another thing that I wanted to talk about, and you'll be seeing a blog coming out from Shelly probably tomorrow sometime, talking about anchoring in the higher frequencies or the higher vibration. And no, anchoring or grounding, that was the term, grounding. So the vast majority of you have been on this spiritual journey for a long time. And when you ground your energies, you're sending them into Gaia. You're sending it down into Gaia, and that's helping to keep you as the person grounded onto the earth. And as you open up your consciousness, you can bring in higher, lighter vibrational energies. And that's very much a part of the process I know that Shelly uses and that the vast majority of you use when you're going into your meditation. It's important to have that link to Gaia. However, the more that these higher vibrations are becoming the everyday frequency, some of you came in here at a particular frequency, and now you've just ascended and worked your way up. But others of you came in here with the clear intention that you are the higher vibrational energies. You are the universal energies. And so grounding into Gaia can be awkward or uncomfortable for you. So if you practice how you can either, it's best probably to set it up in meditation, but if you practice grounding into the higher frequencies, in other words, creating a space that's where you can be as if you are living your everyday life, not shifting up there for meditation and coming back down, but figuring out a way to ground into that higher light vibrational energies. It gives you more of it into your everyday working consciousness so that then when you're living your everyday life, you can be in that higher consciousness or that higher frequency. So this is something that I'm willing to bet some of you are doing it automatically and you don't even think twice about it. However, for those of you that have that feeling of, well, I want to see more, I want to feel more, I want to hear more, whatever that is that comes through your senses or your intuition, then this is a way of making it your everyday reality where all of that is available to you. And then it will help you to open up and integrate and develop these senses that you already have, because they are there. They are available for each one of you. The difference is that you just don't, your human reality does not experience that, so it does not seem real. So it puts up like a bit of a block, like, oh, don't you remember? We can't do that. That's not our thing. And so then when you shift your whole consciousness and it's like you're up here in this vibration or frequency, then it's like, yeah, I can do it here. Yes, I can see it here. And then you practice that and bring it down into your everyday reality. You will begin to use your senses and receive a lot more information in your everyday reality. So, this is just like a little bit of it. In fact, I'm hearing some people say, well, can we have a class about that? Can we practice that? And indeed, that sounds like a great idea, because it is one of those things that is about helping you to tap into what is intrinsic within you, but asleep, and then bring it into what is intrinsic within you, but awake. And I believe in the last channel that we did, I don't remember who it was, but someone was talking about how much more is coming from the unconsciousness into the consciousness. And this is another way of experiencing that. What goes along with this also is vibrating in that higher frequency. So between that abstract thinking, looking at different potentials and how they come through to people, and now anchoring in your higher vibration, this is what's going to help you to incorporate your life or have your experience be something that resonates with you and is also a part of the higher frequency. When you're out in the universe, or when you're out in the omniverse, like where I am from, this is all very natural. This is all the everyday reality. This is all the consciousness. So to us, when we come, like some of these people that are coming in and helping, from the universe, we all have unlimited compassion and love and understanding. However, this is something that we see in humanity and think, I don't understand. Why don't you do that? Why don't you get that? Why aren't you using that sense? And this is what my perception was deliberately broken down inside of you, because I believe that humanity on earth was very, very, very intuitive and used all their gifts for many, many hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. But now, where you are in humanity is a place that it's been diminished to such a degree that most of you don't think you have that ability, when the truth of the matter is you do have that ability. Okay, so these are just my messages that I wanted to give here at the beginning. Okay, great idea. I heard someone say, well, can you just give us a transmission of light or energy? Hi to all the people saying hi. Can you give us a transmission of light or energy that will help us with this? So great idea. I invite everyone in this moment, be it closing your eyes, be it keeping them open, whatever's natural for you. But do open up your heart, and I send to you, from my heart to yours, love, light, and awareness. And as you receive this from me, may you allow it to integrate within you so that all of your senses can open up, so that you can see clairvoyantly or hear or feel. And each one of you will have that which comes easiest to you, and then the others after. But I send into each one of you, and I send throughout all of humanity, throughout the consciousness of humanity, that ability to remember who you are, what you can do, and know that this is intrinsic within you, and this is the norm. Whew! So may you be open to receive. It is yours to choose. But that's, what was that? A minute, 2 minutes? I have no idea, but it's as quickly as something like that you can create a change, especially since I sent it into the collective consciousness. That means that if somebody opens up and says, hey, I want to develop my extra abilities. I want to develop, I want to be able to see clairvoyantly. Well, it's now up there in the collective consciousness. And once again, someone will receive that download. Each one of you, you can go in there every single day, 10 times a day, and say, I'll take it again, and just have it as often as you would like. It also, I don't want to go into a lot of this again this week, but this is also going into you in a very focused, conscious way, because you're hearing this. But the way that it's integrating is going into the energy that's around you, in particular into your crystalline energy body, which then affects your emotions, your thoughts, your belief, and goes into your physical. And so this is why it is there in and around you. It is there in the collective consciousness. It is there in your own unconsciousness. It is coming down to you from your soul. So in other words, you have access to this from multiple different sources. And I invite you to be open to whatever way works best for you, and that you may receive and grow howsoever it resonates with you. Woo! I love that. It feels so good to me. I can tell an absolute difference in how humanity is from now versus when I first came in. When I first came in, I could barely come into this earth plane. I could barely connect with Shelly. It was like she was stretching out to the other end of the universe in order to be able to speak with me. And now I am much more a part of everything. And this is but another way in which someone can experience or understand exactly how important and how much this expansion in consciousness has been, how important it has been, and how much it is having an impact on everything. It begins to impact the not only the abilities you have, which I've just been talking about, but that in turn is going to go into then relationships. It's going to go into how you do your job. It's going to go into the physicality that you have. In other words, if you're having physical aches and pains or illnesses, diseases, then this is a way of bringing in that energy of balance and light to transform whatever it may be. So there, it's good. It's just really, really good. Alexandra, do people have questions for me this evening? Do people whose crystalline body is more evolved need as much protein as they once did? Great question. You will hear a lot about people and diet in the years to come. Not only I know that Shelly's in the United States and they're probably worse than other countries, but not only in the cleaning up of food, but the origins of the food. So when you have more crystalline or a higher, lighter vibration, each one of you will know for yourself what is going to be your best diet. There are some people, and it's just that maybe they've got more of the earth energies in them. Maybe, honestly, that's a no. That I misspoke that. There are some people that just in their basic makeup need to have more protein than they do carbohydrates or other parts of the diet. So even meat proteins. So listen to what your body wants and what your body needs. The higher vibration of the food, the fruits, the vegetables, the meats that you have, proteins come in more form than just meat. I recognize that. But no matter what it is that you're eating, you can, number one, just put your hands on it and infuse light and energy that it vibrates at the level which is best for you so that you can eat whatever it is that you want to eat, and it's going to come into your body at the best vibration for you that's going to support you. There are some people that as they get more and more of those crystalline energies within them, they may feel as if eating certain meats or certain proteins as if it's pulling them down. So if that's the case, then obviously don't eat them. But there are other people that are still going to need that because their body is just made differently than other bodies. And so this is why it's so important for each of you to listen to what is needed for you. What you may find is that where you used to eat meat proteins like 5 times a week, well, maybe I only need it once a week, or it can be very different. I do feel that when it comes to diet and moving forward and having this higher, lighter frequency, that it's really important that the food comes from a healthy source, that you've removed chemicals and what's that word? There's the chemicals that they used to fertilize with, but then there's also chemicals when they put foods together. When you can manage to get food that comes from local sources where everything remains intact and it hasn't had to be preserved or anything like that, you're going to get the most nutrients and you're going to get the healthiest food for you. It's not available to everyone, but if you can just keep that in the back of your mind and do that as much as possible, you will find then that the stores themselves will say, well, they're asking me for local produce. Let me get my contracts, and it will show up in your stores more. Or you can go to farmers markets, or you can go to, even if you look online, some of these families have businesses online and they can ship you food. So pay attention to that. Consider that. I mean, it's not for everyone by any means, but if food is something that you've been struggling with or you've been considering or thinking about, then here's just some points to consider. All right. Was that the only question for me? That is so sad. All right. I'm going to get quiet for a minute and see if I can pick up any questions from everyone that's here. Okay, so someone was wanting to know more, understand more about abstract thinking. So let's consider it this way. When you go to school or when you learn things, you're learning things in that linear format. You learned about your history as this was the history, and this was before that, and this was before that. You compartmentalize everything depending on what's going on for you. For example, you might keep everything that's about work over here in this compartment, everything with my family in this compartment. And sometimes it doesn't really overlap on itself. So when you consider abstract thinking, it's about thinking in the moment. It's about understanding that everything that you're thinking about, everything that's happening to you is happening in the moment. And absolutely, you can sit there and remember, well, we talked about that yesterday. This happened last week. This happened 10 years ago. 100%. That's all very true. But your reaction to it, your interpretation of it is in the moment. So you can, this is when you begin to consider your life and consider how you're looking at everything as in the moment, then it's a way of not hanging on to things from the past that may be pulling you down, because they're in the past and you are living in the moment. But if all your focus keeps going back to, oh, I wish I'd made a different decision. Why did I do what I did? That was the worst thing I ever did. Well, then it's not allowing you to live in the moment. So if you look back at yourself from living in the moment, perhaps you'll have more compassion and say, well, you were doing the best you could at that time. Well, you didn't have other resources, so that was the decision you make. Well, you thought that was the best decision to make at that time, and over time it turned out to be wrong. It wasn't wrong. Everything happened because that was what you did for yourself and your family, or whatever the situation may be. And it all happened in that now moment. However, wherever you are right now, you're still in this now moment. So when you consider your life and you consider the choices and the decisions that you're making, and of course, you're probably planning for the future, or, doing whatever it is that you're doing now because this is what you want to have happen down the road, it's still in the moment. So learning to live your life in the moment is a way of learning how to let go of distractions, because obsessing about the past that you cannot change, it's over and done with, obsessing about what might happen, you can't do it because it hasn't happened. It's living in the moment is a way of letting go of obsessions, letting go of distractions, and allowing your focus to be on what's happening right now. What do I need to know about this right now? And what choices am I going to make? And then absolutely, your past is going to influence those choices that you make in the now moment. Planning for and working towards something, you may make one choice or the other because of what you seek to have in the future, but that's all in the moment. So living in the moment is something really, really important. And I believe all of you have heard this before, and it's something that can truly have an impact on your life. But okay, because as I'm hearing people talk about it, they're like, but there's so much going on. There's so many of these different things. How can I look at it all in the moment? So this is again where that abstract thinking comes in. Understanding that you've got all of these random things that are going on, but you're looking at it in the moment, then it's almost like you're expanding and warping your consciousness in such a way that everything falls into place and everything has a new understanding, or a balanced understanding, because you're looking in the moment. So food for thought. I just give you that to take with you and think about in the days to come, and see if you just give yourself that consciousness or that awareness. Hey, if I'm living in the moment, what do I want to do? Or, whatever the questions are that you give yourself, because I think that will help to strengthen you. It will help you to get rid of distractions, and it will help you to make choices then that are really, really important to you, without falling down those rabbit holes that can so often happen. All right. Well, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I got to go first this time. But it's always a joy to spend these times with you, and I thank you very, very, very much for allowing me to be here. I am spending much more time with all of you and in your collective consciousness. So I appreciate this opportunity. On Saluia. Greetings. It is I, Albayon. I come at this time to share this evening with you. I just want to say, with Crystallia going first like that, can you feel how light and fine this vibration is? Can you feel how she just, by having her presence, makes a difference in everything? And that's something to think about, because this is true for all of you. It's really, really noticeable with Crystallia, because she is such a highlight vibration. But each one of you, as you are living your life, as you're having the various experiences, be it with your family, your work, whatever it is that you are working upon, it's so important that you understand that just showing up, just being present, makes a difference. I find that there are so many people that feel disconnected, either from other people or from within themselves. And they may think, well, I can't do anything. What can I do? But the truth of the matter is, you can do a lot, and you do a lot, just by showing up and just by being yourself. Okay, so let's jump into things. I usually like to talk about the political things that are going on, and so that's one of my focuses at the beginning here. When we spoke before, I believe it was after the inauguration, just a couple of days or something like that. And now here we are. It's been 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I don't remember for sure. I can't tell that. But look at what's going on. All of you that are here, you're the ones that set the energy. Speaking of energies and speaking of the collective consciousness, you've all been a part of setting the energies for this change to take place. And now, look what's happened in those few weeks since President Trump was inaugurated. Change after change after change after change is coming about. Some of it is already enacted. Some of it is putting forth what will happen in the next several months or years. But the biggest thing has been about disclosure. How many times have you guys asked me about disclosure? When are they going to have disclosure? When are they going to tell people what's going on? When is this going to happen? Well, they're telling you loud and clear right now. And they're coming at it through the finances, doing an audit of the government, which so many people have said it's impossible, it can't be done. Well, it's being done. And it took an outside source, all of you know this, it took an outside source to come in to be able to say, I'm not going to be bought off. I'm not going to listen to what anyone says to me. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to expose. Now, do you think this all has happened just since January 22nd or whatever it was? No, this has been going on in the background for some time. And it's just, they've been saving this information. They have it all ready to go. They have it all verified, and they have it. And that's why they've been dropping it day after day after day after day, sometimes multiple things during a day. And so this is the change that you guys have been tapping into. This is the change that you knew was coming. And this opening up the door is, it's been incredible, the differences that it has made. So one of the things that I do want to say is that when you look at a lot of the people that are just your average people that may not necessarily be on a spiritual journey, that may not, consider that these changes that are taking place are a spiritual foundation, they just may be living their lives or whatever. But as they hear about these things, it's mind-boggling. And as they hear about everything that's being discussed, they understand that, oh my goodness, this is craziness. And how did they get away with this? So what do you think step 2 is going to be? Well, just exactly who was getting that money? I mean, they're saying it went to these other countries. They're saying it went to these things, but and they already have the answers. They're looking beneath the surface and they're saying, well, this is who actually is behind this. And this is who is actually behind this. And this is what is going to lead to the disclosure of the senators and congressmen and the judiciary people. This has been rampant throughout all aspects of the government. And so this was the opening door, so to speak, and something that everyone can understand. Nobody in the United States wants their money to be so frivolously given away. And they've said that for years and years, but the people that were committing the acts were never willing to do the audit because, of course, they didn't want to give up that stream of income. But now that they have this outside source that cannot be bought off, meaning President Trump, Elon Musk, and the others that are a part of that group, now is the time that, okay, they went in, they've done the audit, and they're showing it to people. And then the next thing will be, this is who's getting the money. This is who's behind it. I mean, I think most people can say, those that are screaming the loudest about not auditing, or, what right do you have, and trying to discredit these people, are the ones that are receiving the money. So it's the next phase that I see coming out with this is in late February into early March. You will start seeing people, and then that's going to lead to what is treason, and it's going to lead to the treasonous activities, and that's where they're going to be bringing down. Now, are they going to say that this actually happened in the past? My sense is that yes, at some point that will come out, but they're trying to make it come out as if it's happening right now, as a means of making it more real for humanity. But we've talked, I've talked on here, I know that you've seen it on many other places, about the fact that Joe Biden and many of these individuals have been played by actors, and that's because the real true person was already removed, going back as far as 2020. Another thing that was going through people's minds, they keep talking about J6, 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 and the way that the people were arrested, and the way that they stormed the Capitol, and all of these things. This is one of those instances that is important for you to say, well, why is that so important? Because why did all those people go to Washington? What were they there for? So the distraction is they arrested all these people, even though they were not in the wrong, even though there's a lot of misinformation about what was going on, but they still arrested people, and they put forth the scenario that this was an attack on the Capitol. But what was really going on? That was the day that they certified the previous election, which was fraudulent. And every one of those people that went through and said, yep, I confirm my state. Yep, I confirm my state. And then they all accepted it. That was when treason took place. And that was when the military stepped in. And that's when they began to take these people out and take them down. The whole entire Capitol was shut down after that. And you could see it. Those of you that were aware, do you remember watching all those videos of day after day after day after day, the people that looked like lawyers in their suits, their briefcases and stuff going in there? And this is what was going on. So whenever we talk about stuff that's happening here, the question is always, why did that happen? Is it covering up something? Is it asking you to look over here while something else is going on over there? Well, this is one of the important things, and it is what is going to be coming out. Okay, so let's see. So when I'm looking at that, and when I see things coming up, it still feels as if this is going to be, again, because they've been already doing all this in the background, the Nasara Jasara that they talk about, when they say, where's all of these billions and billions of dollars that's been going elsewhere, it's already been recaptured. And this is what's going to go back to the public as a means of restitution for the abuses that have taken place. So that feels to me like it could happen as early as the end of this month or as early as next month. They've already been talking about the different ways in which they're taking down the IRS. They're taking down the aspect of it where it went to the banks, where it went to the people that were not part of the United States, where it was not helping the citizenship. So that has already been dismantled in the background, even though there are people still working there, even though there are computerized things that are still going on, and even though people are having to go through the steps that they always did for paying their taxes. But all of that has already been dismantled, and all of that is in the process of being rebuilt into something that is going to be much more supportive of humanity, of the citizens of the United States, and less giving the money to these elites that felt, that set that all up and that have been using that. So that feels like it's going to take place. You will have significant changes before April 15th, which is your tax day. And it can be as early that people can receive money or can see things changing as early as March. It feels like early March to mid-March. You will absolutely see changes along that line. So then what does this mean to the rest of the world? As all of this is coming out, when they get to the next phase, like they've used the money because that everyone is, especially when you look at the inflation, especially when you look at how hard it has been for people to sometimes keep their houses, keep their jobs, keep, food and clothing. That's what really hits closest to home. And so that's why they came out with that. And that's why they're giving you all that information. And that's why they will begin to make this change. All of that being said, as those individuals come out that I was just speaking about a moment ago, they didn't do it alone. They had people working in other countries. And this was something that was a global reaction. So as those people start coming out and as that information comes out about that, then it's going to come out, oh, yes, Trudeau was also having that experience. Oh, yes, so-and-so over here was also a part of that. Oh, yes. And this is how it's going to then bring it in that these elites were global and that they cared only for themselves, and that it was all a part of using the countries, because the United States may have been set as the example, but the UK and many of these other countries have been struggling just as badly as the US has been. Canada has been struggling. Many, many, many of these countries are struggling. So this is the opening. This is the lancing of the wound, and all of that pus, if you want to call it, is going to come pouring out from every country. Now, as far as the finances in the other countries, I haven't really looked at that before, but I do know, because this is but one way in which the U.S. has been, seeing the money go. There's also all that money that had been stolen throughout the years that was kept in the Vatican. That all went home to each individual country. So, and so some of this money that was stopped in that hemorrhage is going to be the money that goes back to people, but also some of that money that was stored in the Vatican that went back to every country is the money that they're going to pull. Oh, Saint Germain Fund, or Saint Germain. There was some word that other people have given it over the years. And so that's where the source of the money is that's going to be going back into people's pockets worldwide. One of the things that came up, Shelly was talking to me about this a few days ago. We don't really hear about China. We hear about all of these other countries and the way in which they interact with each other, but we don't really hear about China. And China has a way of being, and well, that's true. Someone said, well, we don't hear about Russia that much either. So thinking of the bigger continents and their interaction. So let me take a look at them just out of curiosity, just to see what's coming up with that. So as China has an overlay over them that makes it very difficult for anyone to tap into things. Like when you look at it, when you're considering different things, you can send your consciousness there and do what they call remote viewing, or you can tap into different situations and get the energy of it. But China itself has created that dome that we spoke about the last time. Do you remember? Or maybe that was in my mini. But China has something that surrounds itself that is impermeable to many, many, many energies. Now, thinking of the Great Wall, that they built that as a physical thing during a time of warfare. But I'm aligning with them and asking permission, and the dragon families or the dragon energy of China is very powerful, and they're the source behind all of this. So as I was sitting there and just sitting in this space and asking for information, 3 dragons came up to me, and they said they represent the dragon families and that they're the true power behind everything that's going on in China. And they said that they have done a clearing out of their own for the people that the rest of the world saw that wanted to take over the world. They said, yeah, we thought we had a chance to do it, but we know now it's not going to happen. But and some of us can look at this and understand what's truly going on here, and others, some that worked for us, some that were part of our families, they've been eliminated. We take care of our own from within. And so what you saw as the president of China was a puppet, but the people behind him that were controlling and manipulating him, and the people that were that had agreed to be a part of the oligarchy, they've been taken out because it didn't work. Sorry, this is Albayon. I'm just pausing for a moment here because I feel like I need to clarify something. And they're like, you can say whatever you want. So what we're talking, the energies that we're talking to, they're coming to us, like I said, as 3 dragons. And they're saying this is the foundation behind China. This goes back to the truly ancient days, back to before Atlantis. And this is when dragons were very prevalent upon the earth, and each dragon had its own culture. And China being such a big area and part of that which was originally inhabited on the by humanity, these are those ancient beings. So over the many thousands and thousands of years, they've had many different incarnations. They've had many different very ascended beings that have lived there and been a part of this, and they have interacted, and they have been the foundation for all. And so the perception that I'm getting from them is that this whole last 150 years has just been an experiment, just been something to understand, or just, well, let's see how that works. And then they sit back, and there were certain things, there were certain lines that they could not cross, but they were like, okay, we'll see how that works. And now it's run its course, it's done, and they've eliminated all of that from within their group. And now they're ready to bring in that ascended energy into China. And it feels like it's coming back into a more loving and compassionate. And now by China, I know this is not what the earth looks like, but it feels like China, Korea, Tibet. It's like this whole area is all of what I'm calling China, not just the country of China. Okay, so they just said, that's fine. That's a good way of explaining it. But their message to the rest of humanity is that we represent this part of the world. There are many other beings as ancient as us that are in every part of the planet, and we've all been in communication and alignment with one another because we are the source of the planet. We are that which was created from the planet, and we can say how we've seen through thousands and thousands of years the many transitions, but we're the ones that are here. We are Gaia. We are Gaia incarnated as this, and our places that we protect and we take care of just happens to be that area that you speak about. Whew. Okay, so they've gone away. This is Albayon again. Wasn't that fascinating? And it makes me wonder if perhaps that's something that we should look at more closely, like the different places in the world. Going back, are they all dragon essence, or do some of them look different, or some of them come out differently? I don't know. But anyway, so I went down a big, huge rabbit hole there, but it was kind of interesting information, and I hope you enjoyed that. What the way that I always like to look at things and talk about is the step by step, the ways in which things have been taking place, what's happening in the U.S. that is now being reflected in the rest of the world. So all of this disclosure that you see coming out for them is now you're going to be seeing it represented in other countries. So the bottom line is that the high light vibrational frequency is here, and everything else is just going to find a way to become a part of that higher vibrational frequency, or it will go dormant and it will no longer be activated. So the control, manipulation, all of those things that they talked about for so long, that was 100% the low vibration, and that's what's being phased out. And you are here. You are now going to have this experience, and you are now moving forward. And it is thrilling to me to see how so much is coming together now. I have always had a positive attitude about things because I can see the multiple different potentials that are all playing themselves out. But now is the time for you to experience it in your human reality and be in the flow of that abundance. Be in the flow, not only monetarily, but the abundance of soul, of spirit, of frequency, of everything else that's going on, because this is very, very exciting. All right. Are there people that have questions for me? How can we activate our bodies into a self-healing functions? Great question. There's so many different ways that you could go about doing this. And one of the things that I want to bring up for you is that reminder how I believe it was 1 or 2 years ago. Remember how we talked so much about the med beds, and my ship has med beds on it. And many of you would go there in your sleep state, and you would be rejuvenated. And then that was, of course, up on that light frequency, and it gets filtered down into the everyday reality. Some people manifested it 100%, whatever took place. Some people manifested bits and pieces. So at that time that I first talked about it, which I believe was a couple of years ago, there was not as much of the highlight vibration and frequency on the earth plane. So let me invite you to, I have no idea where those previous channels were, but I will just say this to you, that if you, when you're going to sleep at night, or if you're going into a meditative state, then say, hey, Albayon, I'd like to connect with your med beds. So the way that it looks is like as you come into the ship, it's like our ships are multi-level, and this is one level that we call it the healing level. And within this level, sometimes they're pods that have like 5 or 6 of them around, and sometimes they're individual rooms. But as you come into this room, people wear just garments. You don't, they're like very organic, and you don't have anything else on you that's the synthetic or belts or buckles or anything like that. And then what happens is the way that this is going to work when you see it in your everyday reality, in order to connect with, to restore someone to their previous, or to activate their DNA, some will put a hand on a hand plate, and the machine will read it and it will pick up your DNA. Some will give like a drop of blood that will be assimilated into it, different ways of doing it. But then when you lay down in this machine, it's working with the ions, it's working with particles, it's working with all of the various aspects of your body to connect to the DNA that is intrinsic within you, that is the foundation for the essence of who you are. And then in doing so, as it infuses light, as it clears out anything that is not in balance with it, it's rebalancing you as your physical body, you as your energetic body, you as the DNA that is within you, and then it gets integrated back within you. So that's kind of a very simplistic way of talking about it, but you can connect with that. You can go into that, and it's a way of just clearing energy and rebalancing you from a very high light vibrational energy, and then you consciously bring it down into your everyday life. Then, okay, so that's working with the med beds that are on my ship. Another way that this is going to happen is there will be physical med beds on your planet that people will go to, and it feels closer than it ever has before. But this is just a means of helping you to heal things, and those are going to be utilized much more so for they can be utilized for anything. But I always see it, whenever I see it coming in, the sense is that it's going to be used for military personnel first and then out to the general public. And in that, it can heal chronic illnesses. It can heal just whatever it is that a person may be experiencing, because it's going to take you back to that place where your DNA and your body, everything is going to be rebalanced. Okay, so that's the med bed scenarios. So what else can you do to create healing within your body? You can do this all through talking to your cells. When you go to sleep at night, you can kind of start at the head and go down through your body and just kind of check in. How's my head doing? Oh, I've had a lot of sinus headaches. Okay. How's my throat? How's my neck? How are my shoulders? How's my heart? How's my, whatever it is. And for some of you, you may have a chronic problem that's going on, and then you can go straight to that problem and work on only that. But what you do then is you're setting up the intention that as you sleep as I'm going to sleep this night, I really want to rejuvenate, regenerate, heal, whatever that is that you're going to heal. And then, and what will happen is those energies will come into you, coming down through your soul, coming through angelic healing, coming through, whatever source might be available to you. And it's going to work on you to heal that part of your body. And when you wake up in the morning, frequently people feel lighter, they feel better, they feel like whatever it is has gone away. So then this is always the tricky part. You have your mental body. You have your belief systems, you have your thoughts. So someone that's had a problem for a while, or very painful, or very severe, whatever it is, then your mind says, oh, don't forget, we're sick. We have this problem. We can't get rid of it. We've tried everything. It's not working. So then you have to work with your mental body also to change your belief system, to change your reality, going back to what Crystallia said about being in the moment. In this now moment, my body is completely balanced, completely healed, and I am pain-free. And you will be in that moment, but then things come in. The cellular memory that you have may be a cellular memory of diabetes or high blood pressure or whatever it might be. So you're working with your cells, you're working with your mental body, you're working with your emotions, and all of these are the ways in which you can heal yourself. Everybody has that ability to heal themselves through the pure energy, through the talking with their body, through connecting to your cells and talking to the cells within your body, and remembering you're fluid. Your body is primarily fluid, so be sure to drink lots of water. Let that water help to flush things out in some cases. The question then I'm also hearing from people, yeah, but what about supplements? What about medications? So you have a traditional way of that you've been healing things. Some of those medications are fabulous and they work very well with you and help you to heal. Some of them are actually bringing you down. Herbal supplements, there's many, many, many different herbal supplements. That's what the earth used for thousands of years until your last 150 years. There have been a couple of other times in history that they had synthetically made medications that, that people would tap into. And so, sorry about that, got distracted. The phone wasn't turned off. And so then they would try that. They'd have that experiment for that period of time, and then they'd all go back to the natural remedies. So there are people that are attuned to earth and get insights and know what is best for a person's body. So I guess my point is, and I don't know why I went into such detail, I guess it was needed, but my point is that there are multiple different ways in which you can heal yourself, but the end result is that you have to know and understand intrinsically in every cell within your body that you are in perfect health, in perfect balance, at the perfect weight, at the perfect whatever. And that comes beginning within you and your communication with the cells in your body and your higher self and your soul and the angels and light beings that you work with, or going up to my med bed. So there's no one particular way that everybody has to use. It's about finding out what resonates with you. Wow, that was kind of big. long. Was Iceland and other Arctic places taken over by the dark forces? Was Iceland and other Arctic places? Well, Iceland's at the north, and then you have Antarctica at the south. Antarctica, there was a certain quadrant of it that, yes, was taken over by the dark forces. That's after World War II. That's where Hitler and all of those people went. And it's like the first opening or the first level. Antarctica is one of the ways to get into the deeper inner Earth. However, none of that was touched by the dark forces because they could not penetrate us. All these many years, they tried and tried, but they could not penetrate. So only that surface level or the entry level was taken over by the dark forces. Let me look at Iceland. Iceland, Greenland, all of those just kind of right together up there. Just as most all of the countries had at least one or more individuals that were a part of, there's not a single country in the world that did not have some dark forces that were involved in it. Iceland itself has a beautiful intrinsic essence or soul essence that was never 100% changed, but there were dark forces that participated in Iceland, especially with the tunnels. It's like a way station for many places. And so, yes, there were dark energies that were a part of Iceland, but as I'm looking at it now, it looks more like a shadow instead of a solid presence that's there. So it feels to me as if it's already been cleared out, if not in the process of being cleared out. When will we see changes in the UK? Prices are going up and up. This is what we were talking about earlier. So looking at the UK, it feels as if, okay. It feels as if there's a lot that's going on right now behind the scenes as we're looking at the UK. The UK is going to be different, and many of these places in Europe are going to be different that had the monarchies because they are going to have to, at some point, state that the monarchies were 100% involved with these nefarious ones. People don't want to hear it. People don't want to believe it. And that's a sure way to shut things down. So it feels as if they're doing kind of a workaround, and it feels as if there's a transition that's been going on, and that after a lot of this, I just keep hearing, like, I mean, because the whole entire planet has heard about, oh my God, did you hear what USAID was doing? Did you hear what was going on over there? And so obviously every country knows about this. So now every country is saying, where's our version of USAID and what have you been doing with our money? That's already going on. I see it going on in the background of every single major country around the world. And so that is going to be an opening of the door. But I feel more so that as they start bringing out these people that have been the treasonous people, that they are going to be the ones to say, okay, they were working with so-and-so over here in the UK, and that individual was also part of the nefarious ones. And it's going to shift and change things in such a way that that the information will come out. So I feel as if the inflation and the struggle and the things that so many people have had is going to continue for at least another month, if not 2 months. But I do feel that when I'm looking down towards April, May, everything has transitioned in a huge way, and it feels like a lot of these prices will start coming back down, and people will have more money in their pocket. The UK and a lot of the European and Australia, I don't know. I just keep getting that there's so much that's been going on underneath that is setting up for this transition. So the US won't go through all of this. And then suddenly here's the UK starting from scratch. I just feel like there's a whole lot that's been going on behind doors or underneath everything. And that it's going to be like, it just feels like this huge domino effect going around the world, that all of these countries have already taken care of a lot of these problems, and it will all come out one by one by one. Are the posts that David Wilcox refers to from the Shadow of Ezra accurate? Let me look into that. It feels like a lot of it is truth, but it does not feel like it's the whole truth. It feels like there's a limitation in there. I get when I look at David that he is brilliant and he has very best of intentions, and it does not feel like he's a dark energy. However, it also feels like there's a limitation. So whether it's coming through the shadow of whether it's coming through David or this person that refers to as the shadow of Ezra, which does not feel like David. It feels like they're two separate that work together. It feels like it's a part of the information and good intentions, but it does not feel like a largely expanded person. It feels like more someone in limitation. So it feels like but you know what the point is in everything? Use your own discernment. If it makes sense to you, if it resonates with you, if it's a piece of the puzzle that helps you to understand, then great. If it's something that seems way outside of what everything else is or way different, that's always the intention to say, well, is this for me to really change my thinking or abstract thinking in this point? But does your intuition just say, no, not going to go there? That just does not make sense to me. So the more that you trust your intuition, listening to your intuition, then the less you'll just blindly believe everything that you read, because we feel like some of it is very valid and truthful, and others of it is not. Or it's not that it's deliberate lies as much as not the whole picture or not all the information. It just feels limited. As the people of Greece are waiting for a disaster, as the people of Greece are waiting for a disaster, are all the nearby islands, specifically Malta, going to be affected as well? What disaster are they waiting for? Is there going to be a typhoon or a tsunami, or what disaster are they waiting for? Let me see if I can tap into what that may be. Feels like there's a big clearing, a purging. There's a big clearing out that's going to be happening. It does feel as if it's like a typhoon or whatever they call it in that part of the world. It does feel like high waves. It does feel like flooding. It does feel like a huge, huge clearing out. And it also feels like there were some things when you go back to Greece and the ancient Greece and the Parthenon and even looking at Egypt and the Sphinx and and well, Alexandria, like so many different places, they've got really ancient knowledge, ancient information, and all of that is buried deep, deep, deep within the ground in these places. So there are many people that kind of have tried to corrupt that. It's like they take what was original and skew it and twist it and turn it into something that's totally different. And it feels like, and I have that feeling when I'm tapping into Greece here, and it feels like they were controlled and manipulated. And so it's just feeling as if it's just feeling to me as if there's a lot of purging that needs to take place, and I'm picking up on water. And is there going to be an earthquake? There's a potential that there might be an earthquake, but be aware that because another thing that was brought up to us several years ago was, especially up in Tibet and all the ancient Atlantean scrolls and stuff like that, many of these things are in a vibration that's not part of the everyday vibration, so it cannot be destroyed, it cannot be discarded, and so just be aware of that. The truly ancient information that is within Greece is not going to be destroyed. But I understand this person's asked about, but what about the people? What about the everyday reality? So, so as I'm looking at Greece and Malta and southern Italy and all of these places out within that area, it feels like a purging is going to take place. I'm feeling earthquakes, waves, flooding. Is there going to be a lot of lives lost? I don't feel like there's going to be a lot of lives lost. It feels more so like there's just a deep purging. I mean, so many of these countries have had these purges within the country. And I mean, Australia has had many, many, many floods. The US, of course, and every place else has had floods and earthquakes and fires. And these are just the primary ways in which you can purge energy. Sometimes it's the energy that's entrained within the soil or the rocks or the land that needs to be cleared, and sometimes that's why you have these things that are going on. But yeah, I don't know. I get this as a potential. I don't know how, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's happening right now. It just feels like it's a potential, and this feels like it's the way it's going to manifest. But just tell us the potential. Feels like there's a 80% potential that there will be some sort of a phenomena, but it doesn't feel at all like it's going to destroy Greece or destroy Malta or destroy any of those things. It just feels like there's a deep purging that needs to take place. Here's a question. For the people that live in those areas or other people that like to work with energy, can you go and clear those areas or do something, and that would minimize the effect that might need to take place? So this is a way that you can all be proactive also. Whew. Okie dokie. Will people with mental health issues, OCD, phobias, PTSD, depression, anxieties experience some relief this year without having to do anything? Will the new energies coming up? That's a great question. A lot of people that have the chronic the mental illnesses and everything that they just mentioned right there will be a lessening of many of the symptoms of these people due to the influx of energy. They also, without doing anything, they also will need to get to a place where they shift their thinking process, because especially like PTSD and OCD and some of these things, they're in a pattern and in a habit, and something is a trigger and it puts them into that experience or that pattern or that habit. So they have to learn not to be triggered and not to let that trigger them. With the higher vibrational frequencies, it'll happen perhaps less often, or it might not be as severe, but they still will have to go through some sort of training or learning, and then they will just have less and less and less problems going down the road. But for it to just happen 100% without them doing anything, it just doesn't feel like it's going to go that way. What is the real intent of Mr. T wanting to take over Gaza and calling part of the ocean and the Gulf of America? Okay. So the Gulf of America was a strategic thing. It had to do with it's not control and manipulation and saying we're bigger, you're smaller, we're changing it to this. It feels like it has to do with something legal, a way of getting around something. That's what the Gulf of America feels like. There's going to be many, many people that will still call it the Gulf of Mexico, and it's only in these what do you call them? In these negotiations or in things, perhaps it has to do with oil, but it feels like it has to do with other things. There are many subterranean bases, and it feels like there's a big one that's there in the Gulf of what America, as they're going to call it. And it feels like shifting the name like that, it gives different access or a different ability to be able to negotiate or create jobs or do things like that. It does not feel as if it was in, well, a lot of people take it this way. I understand that oh, that's just Mr. T throwing his weight around, but it's more so a negotiation. It has to do with negotiations, and it has to do with the way in which the name is just a part of negotiations. That's the best and simplest way to keep it. All right, let's look at Gaza and see what's going on. That whole region has been in just different, has it not? There have been so many things. There's been so much warfare. There's been so much going on. There are a lot of people that are saying that many of the people that lived in Gaza have already been moved to other places and live in other countries or other, they've created a new Palestine in Dubai or different places. That's one thing that's being circulated. There are other people that these pictures that you see of all the damage and the people, that's the reality. Kind of going back to Crystallia and those different perceptions of reality, that's a little bit of what's coming up here, is that all of that negative, low vibrational reality is still here, kind of hitting away at you. And so they think that everyone's still there and everyone is still being attacked, and all of this is going on. So let me look and see. I feel as if Israel, Gaza, that whole entire area is going to go through a transformation. I feel as if the bottom line is the entire planet is done with warfare. It's not seen in your everyday reality because they're still negotiating and they're still taking things out. But I believe that what they're saying here with Gaza, well, okay, let me back it up and reverse it. Going back to, what was it, 1948 with Israel, that was very much a part of the dark hats. It was created through the dark hats as a means of putting pressure and power in there. And Gaza was kind of what was left over that they left for the people that were previously in that area. So as they go back, they're now going to find a new way of living side by side. And when you take out all that energy of the warfare, it is going to work. We just heard people say that's never going to work. These people have been fighting for even longer than since 1948. I get it. But it's also important for all of you to understand, when you take the energy of warfare out of the vibration and the consciousness, then people are not going to step into it, whether they were aware that that's what they were doing or not. So coming back around to Gaza, I'm not getting a super clear vision because I just see all of these different potentials that are going on. Are people still there? I get a yes, people are still there. Is it still the warfare that they keep showing? I get a no, that the warfare is not like what it used to be. Have a lot of these people moved to a new location like Dubai or other areas in there, Jordan, other areas? I get a yes, that many of them have moved away already over time. And I get that many were helped by the US and some of these other people. But that original setting up of Israel with a lot of US backing, it's almost like when you talk about another state, it's like Israel is another state. And so that feels like that's all going to be broken down. And that as that gets broken down and as things are dismantled, then that whole area is going to go through a big transition. And at the end of the day, I just see people working side by side and living free. Okay, that's something that's going to take 2 to 3 years, if not longer. But you will definitely hear changes coming about this year within the next 5 to 6 months. But the actual completion of it all feels like it's longer. Whew. Okay. Is Elon, Bezos, and Zuckerberg playing nice now because they did a mea culpa to Trump? Will they ever get exposed for their past actions? So we've talked about Elon before and still feel as if he capitulated a long time ago, but he also transcended and brought in a higher vibration of himself. And so like the Elon that's here now is not the Elon that was here before. The other two, I don't feel that in them. I feel like they're still the same way they were before. I feel like they are all, that those two are working they're more, they just feel like the same vibrational energy that they were before, and that they're just doing what they can to save themselves. It does feel like they both have given up a lot of information on other people. It does feel like they've, if you want to call it that, pled guilty to certain things. So did they do something? And I don't get that sense. No, I don't get that sense, because Trump is not, I mean, he's the biggest negotiator that you will ever find. but it's not like, hey, I'm going to do this underhanded thing for you so that you'll make me look legit up here. It doesn't feel like anything like that at all. But it's very important to understand that the Elon Musk that you see now is 100% the white hat, but the way he was back, and maybe some people say, well, it's just him looking out for himself. But the person that he was back even 4 or 5 years ago is not the person that he is today. But how many of you are? You know, you all are going through this ascension. You all are different than the person you were before. But we just see that. I see a huge shift in Elon, and I don't see that for the other two. Anything else? Oof, well, I've been talking almost an hour. So probably a good thing. We'll end on that one for me. So thank you, beloved family. You are really, really, really in the midst of excitement, you know, the midst of this transformation, the midst of all these energies. And it's super important that you remember that, you know, there's the up and down of this year, no doubt about it. But remember to stay in the higher vibrational frequency as much as you can. And remember that you are here. You are in this process. You are moving forward. So remember that you are transitioning, and step into that energy and stay in that light frequency as much as possible. Hallelujah. Greetings. It is I, Brysentia. Whew. This is very strange to go third. I don't think I've gone third for a while because Shelly's energy is already somewhat tired, pretty tired. But also to see all of the energies and all of the information that's already been shared, it's pretty incredible. So I do want to take a moment and talk of Earth, as I always do. I love to talk about Gaia. I love to talk about the transitions. I love to talk about how all of this is going on. I feel as if massive changes are taking place. I feel as if there's way more going on than what you see on the surface. And as I look at the vibration of not only humanity, but Gaia herself, there is such a rise that has transitioned. When the equinox comes about in March, you guys are going to feel it a lot more noticeably because of everything that took place with the solstice in December. And that big, massive opening up that's allowed for all of these downloads of the light frequency to come in will be much more integrated by March. So perhaps after March, there'll be kind of a balancing out of these energies. It won't seem like for so many of you, it's like every day you wake up, oh, we're at the top of the roller coaster. Now we're at the bottom. And it's been very, very hard. But one of the things for me to share with you is that sorry, I got down. I was going to say, I was there with Albayon talking to the dragons of China, and they are some really powerful dragons. And just a reminder of the dragon energy, and that I wanted to say more about that, but it just kind of came in. I don't even know what I was talking about a minute ago, because and this isn't it is a bit the essence of the dragons of China, but this is more so the dragon energies of the planet. And they just are such a powerful energies. And when you're tapping into the dragons, the ones that can communicate like you and I are communicating right now, you know, the ones that have that really brilliant way of being, they see things like talking about that multidimensional seeing. They see things multidimensionally, and they can move between the dimensions with great ease. And it's a vibration, it's a potential, it's partly the way they are, but that's something that's going to be coming in very, very, very much so. Not necessarily in the next few months or so, but there is a download that is coming with the equinox in March that is going to be an opening of a doorway that's going to bring in more of these esoteric beings, if you want to call them that. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful energy. So I know I was in the middle of saying something. I have no idea what it was now. I've totally forgotten about it. But that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. And maybe this is an example of how these dragon energies, when they're there, they're there. Um, I have this feeling, or I have this sense that many of you have dragons as part of your totems. And aren't we completing the year of the water dragon, speaking of China, and in the Asian, that year, or is it already complete? It might be complete this month. I'm not 100% sure. But that dragon energy is something that so many people find mystical, and it's just it just brings up excitement in people. So be aware that you're going to be hearing more about it. You're going to be seeing them around. They may manifest. I mean, Shelly's like, yeah, they're right here, and you may have that sense of them in and out of your presence, but feeling them kind of as your totem. And when you think of animals as your totems, then you're tapping into the energy and the essence of what that is. And to have it be a dragon, I mean, just think about that. Multidimensional, they have a way of seeing everything and knowing everything all in an instant, and then they can maneuver between it. You may think, oh, they've got those big old bodies, but those big old bodies are very flexible, and I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent. But the point is, dragon energy is a beautiful, powerful energy, and you had a feel of it tonight. And we've talked to dragon before, and this is something that is going to be much more prevalent in the 6 months or year to come. Not only the dragons, but the fairies, many of these other archetypes of spiritual beings are going to be. Their energy or their essence is going to be coming back to you. Okay. Well, I think let's just jump into questions, because I know Shelly's getting tired. We'll go on. The earth chakra beneath our feet is black. Also, there are no black color among the rainbow colors, but put together, they make white. Can you tell us something about the color black? I don't necessarily feel like the earth chakra is black. I'm not sure where that person is getting that. But the color black, so let's just speak about color for a minute. All of color is a consciousness. And when people like looking back to say, okay, we'll just go by the medieval days. I was going to go back to like the prehistoric days, but we'll just go to the medieval days. The people in the medieval days, they had their look or their view of the world was a lot more narrow than what you have in your reality today. So as they looked at colors, what they defined as colors, there was not as big of a spectrum as what you have today. So when you look at your colors today, there's so many different fine things going up all to the purples and the hues. And there is even a color clear that you may think about. Oh, there's not a color clear. Yes, there is. When you think of something that doesn't have a particular pigment to it, but there's a color there, that is the color clear. And so black is something that's always been like a foundation or a basis, and it's a way of giving contrast to it. And do people call it black? They might not have called it black in other time-space realities, but that which is black is, to me, my perception is that it's there, like, what do you call it? When the scientist has that thing that is the constant, that's not going to change, that is ever present, and it gives you that foundation. And then everything that you try and practice over here, you come back to that constant. That's what the color black is. I know there's a word for it, but I can't think of what it is right now. And so it's something that is never changed. Well, I take it back. There are many, many shades of black. There's shades of gray that come from the black, but why isn't it part of the rainbow? I don't think of black as a low vibration. I think of black as just a color, and it can be interpreted in many, many different ways. But I believe that black is actually a part of the rainbow. When I look at it in those deeper red colors, I can see black in there. So I think that it's a person's perspective of how they look at things and what they can see and interpret. But black is like the ballast, or I cannot think of the word, the source, and many other things that kind of come off of it. But there are definitely different shades of black, no doubt. Okay, so that's my take on that. Can I trust RJ Spina, and that he is who he claims to be? RJ Spina. So here's the interesting thing. When I look at RJ Spina and I say, like whenever people ask about certain individuals, I just say, can I trust RJ Spina? And I'm kind of looking at the consciousness of the planet, and frequently I'll get like a big burst of something. I'll get a perspective. So when I said that name, I got nothing. And so I said, okay, RJ Spina, I would like to tap into him. I'm asking, to connect with him. And my sense is I just keep getting a blank. So this could be a number of different things. Number one, he's got big walls around him, and it's like he'll give out what he wants to give out, but you can't come in. One perspective. Another perspective is that he's a facade. He's not who he says he is. And because I just mostly everything I get is neutral when I'm looking at that name. I'm not getting anything in particular. But as we've said, all three of us have said, it's always your perception. If you read this information that this individual is putting out and it resonates with you, it gives you, it's another little tool in your tool belt or whatever, then great. If it doesn't resonate with you, then you let it go, and you don't worry about it. So my take, looking at it from this global perspective, is neutral. I just can't get a good read one way or the other. Are there many demons or negative entities still on the planet manipulating or harming people? When will this finally end? There are not as many as there used to be. There are still some that are left behind, and there's less and less and less. I cannot tell you zero. I could give you a fraction, like a 1 or 2% of what it used to be. So tiny, tiny amount. But the ones that are there are working off of patterns and energies that were already put in place. So it may seem like it's a lot, but it's not actually as much. It's just a tiny fraction of what it used to be. I believe I mentioned, was it last time or 2 times ago, talking about the dark web energies have been taken down and removed. And that was a big part of it too, because what people that called and I'm not talking about the matrix, I'm talking about something else totally different. But if you think of a matrix, or if you think of a web, or if you think of something that is literally connecting everybody on the earth, and it was used to control and manipulate, and it was a part of dark magic, and now that's gone, then that's not a means of communication that's available to people anymore. However, there are other ways that some of these witches or demons, if you call them that, can still connect into people, and that's what they are doing. So it's important to know that this is going away and going away. But as long as there's still a focus, like say, for example, as Albayon spoke earlier about the clearing out of these countries, I mean, that's a lot of negativity right there. And a lot of them worked with demons. So as long as that's in the forefront or in people's consciousness, that's giving access to that negative energy. So, I'm talking 3 to 5 years before they're going to be totally gone, or pretty much non-existent. But you don't have to tap into that. You don't have to be affected by that. The more that you just bring light vibrational energy within you, then it's impossible for something like that to come in and have an effect. And if you're looking at the people around you and saying, well, they're controlled by a demon, well, then that's that person's life. And what you can do from that is just keep sending light, sending light, sending light, or talk about light, or talk about can you open up to light, even if it means nothing to you? Just, connect in, and I am open to the light. And even that will have an impact on people and bring in more light into their energy. And these low vibrational energies do not tolerate the high vibration. So as it becomes more and more integrated, they will become less and less and less. Anything else? Okie dokie. Whew, this has been a very long one tonight, has it not? But there was a lot of information to share, and it's just such an exciting time. I am very excited to be a part of all of this. I am very interested in seeing and hearing how all of you react together as a community. The community of this group is one, but the community of humanity, the community of all that are here as a part of this process. It's happening, and so much has already happened, and it's just the unveiling of it. So, beloved, be very present in your moment, be open to everything that's happening, but also recognize that you are in this beautiful place of transition. You are the one that is integrating and anchoring the light vibration within you. Be at peace, trust that all is well, and know that we are ever with you. On Saluia. Okay. Woo. This is Shelly. Well, as always, that was a lot of information. I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking, gee whiz, that was this, that was this, that was this, that was this. But I believe that it was Albayon. One answer or two answers were super long. And so whenever there's an answer that's really long and it feels like he's going down these pathways, what's really happening is there's a lot of downloading of information, and sometimes it might be clearing out energies that's happening. But just this is the energy movement that's taking place. And he's just using the words to stay in the space and the energy until everything can be done. But anyway, so thank you. It's been a great night. I appreciate all of you. If you're new, if this is the first time you're hearing this, consider subscribing. But anyway, I'm crystallinetransformations.com, but I'm on Telegram, Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, X. I don't do a lot on X, but anyway, but those are my primary. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.